Myles, how would you reflect on the way this season has gone for the team with one game to go?
It's not going well enough. We're not going to the playoffs, so that's the end all be all. You want to have a chance to your team to the big dance, and we didn't do it up here. But love Jim. I love playing.
Jim has expressed interest in still being a head coach in this league. He says he aspires to the top of his profession, just like anybody else does. Having played under him now for a while, what would a Jim Schwartz head coach franchise look like?
Again, I can't see into the future. I don't know what it'd be like. I know he'll be regimented and probably very efficient. I mean, that's how he runs it on defense. So I think those two things will hold true, but how it would come out to the results on the field, that's always determined by us. And sometimes teams you can't control. No injury.
You talked going into the last offseason about having a conversation with Jimmy and Andrew and all the powers that be. And they talked about their plan and everything and for contention. Was there anything they said in those conversations that they didn't hold true to other than, what happened, on the field?
Maybe a little bit, but at the end of the day, not everything goes as planned. Everything that you want to happen comes to fruition. So can't hold too much against them. They can see the future. But,
Like, subscribe, and hit that bell.
Fans were caught off guard by Myles Garrett's comments, not because he openly blamed anyone, but because he didn't need to. Without ever mentioning Kevin Stefanski by name, his words strongly suggested that coaching choices played a major role in Shedeur Sanders' underwhelming season. That's why so many people are asking the same question. Was this a subtle message aimed directly at the head coach? Garrett didn't sound furious during that press conference. He sounded let down, and that distinction matters. When he talked about the season falling short and missing the playoffs, it felt deeper than frustration with losses. It sounded like someone who believes the team never truly set itself up to win. When a roster with real talent continues to come up short, the discussion moves away from effort and toward leadership. For a rookie quarterback like Shedeur, guidance and direction are critical. If the plan wasn't solid from the beginning, then the season was already uphill, and that's not on the young quarterback. Garrett's remarks about structure, accountability, and execution felt like an indirect comparison. He was describing what real leadership looks like, which only highlights what may have been missing. If the offense lacked identity, consistency, or protection, especially for a rookie QB, that responsibility falls on the head coach. Shedeur didn't look lost. He looked overwhelmed. Young quarterbacks rarely fail on their own. They struggle when the system around them doesn't allow growth. If coaching can elevate the defense, why couldn't it do the same for the most important position on the field? The most revealing moment came when Garrett mentioned that certain expectations from leadership may not have been fully met. He didn't accuse anyone, but he didn't defend the process either. That silence speaks volumes. Plans were made, promises implied, and when things unraveled, Shedeur was left exposed. Injuries happen, but preparation and support are coaching responsibilities. Garrett never directly blamed Stefanski, but he didn't shield him either. And sometimes what isn't said carries the loudest message.
I like Jim. I like the coaches that we have. So I don't know what's going to be in the future. Would I like to play in the gym? Would I like to keep the team and for us to improve? Absolutely. But these are things that are handled by people who sign my checks, so they make bigger decisions than I can account for. So I'm going to allow them to do what they do, give my opinions as they ask for it, and then I got to rock with whoever.
Myles Garrett may sound composed here, but if you listen closely, his answer carries real weight. He starts by saying he likes the coaches, but notice how quickly he pulls back. There's no fire, no strong defense, and no real endorsement. It comes across as courtesy rather than conviction. When a leader truly believes in the coaching staff, there's no hesitation. Garrett hesitates repeatedly. He speaks like someone who's already accepted that the system probably won't change, even if it needs to. That's the issue. Acceptance isn't confidence. For a team chasing playoff success, that tone signals stagnation, and stagnation usually traces back to the head coach. Then comes the moment that quietly puts Stefanski in the spotlight. Garrett says he wants improvement, but immediately adds that decisions are made by the people who sign his checks. That's not ownership, that's separation. It's a subtle way of saying he doesn't agree with everything but doesn't control it. If the coaching direction were strong and inspiring, that disclaimer wouldn't be necessary. And this directly affects Shedeur. A rookie quarterback needs a coach who advocates for him, builds the offense around his strengths, and takes responsibility for outcomes. Instead, Shedeur often looked like a bystander in Stefanski's system, reacting instead of developing. The final comment says it all. I'll rock with whoever they have. That's not belief, it's resignation. That's what players say when they don't expect meaningful change. Stefanski's biggest issue isn't just wins and losses. It's that his players don't sound energized by his vision. Shedeur didn't struggle due to lack of talent. He struggled because the offense lacked confidence, protection, and a clear plan. When your franchise defender speaks like this, the locker room message is clear. The system didn't support the quarterback, and no matter how careful Garrett is with his words, the meaning is obvious. Shedeur deserved better coaching, and Stefanski didn't provide it.
In your experience playing under Kevin these last 6 years?
Has it been 6? 5? 6? God damn. My experience, man, like anything, we've had ups and downs. Unfortunately, more downs than ups. So, would have loved to make a little bit more noise and some different years, especially this year with how well we've been playing on defense. But it just wasn't in the cards. Got to continue to grow and find ways to improve. This team has too many talented individuals not to.
You say you want success, that's the most important thing. I mean, to kind of follow up, though, like, can there be success, do you think, if there is continuity?
When Myles Garrett reflects on the last 6 years and says there have been more lows than highs, that's more than disappointment. That's an indictment. 6 years is no longer a rebuilding phase. That's enough time to establish identity, culture, and direction. If the results are still mostly negative, the issue isn't talent or effort. It's leadership. This is Stefanski's era, and Garrett is essentially saying it hasn't lived up to expectations. The defense has consistently shown up, played hard, and kept the team competitive. Yet the overall outcome continues to disappoint. That imbalance tells you everything you need to know. When one side of the ball carries the team and it's still not enough, coaching decisions can't be ignored. What makes Garrett's comments more telling is how he singles out this season. He acknowledges how strong the defense was, yet admits it still didn't translate into success. That's the quiet frustration in his voice. The defense kept giving the offense chances. And who controls the offense? Stefanski. This is where Shedeur enters the picture. The rookie quarterback didn't step into a stable environment. He entered an offense already dealing with confusion, protection issues, and lack of rhythm. Instead of simplifying things and allowing him to grow, the system placed unrealistic expectations on him. That's not fair. Young quarterbacks don't fail because they lack ability. They fail when the structure around them is flawed. Another key moment is when Garrett says individuals must actually grow, not just talk about wanting success. That's a challenge to accountability. Talking about progress doesn't win games. Building the right system does. Stefanski has spoken for years about plans and patience, but Garrett's words suggest the results don't match the message. Shedeur became another player expected to make something work without proper support. If this team truly wants to move forward, it starts with an honest evaluation of the coaching. Because according to Garrett, the defense delivered, the quarterback fought, and the head coach still hasn't figured out how to turn effort into wins.
You're able to rise above the frustration.
Got a job to do. Regardless of offense, special teams, the laps we had on defense during games and for stretches, I got to be the same person every time I walk into, every time I step on the field. I expect the same 95. Same MG, making plays, speaking to the team, speaking to our guys, motivating, inspiring, leading, and especially leading by example. So I can't lapse just because things are going well.
On the surface, Myles Garrett's response sounds strong, but underneath, it exposes a deeper issue. He's essentially saying that no matter how chaotic things become, he shows up and handles his job. That's admirable, but it also raises an uncomfortable question. Why does the team constantly rely on players to overcome frustration in the first place? That shouldn't be normal. When frustration becomes routine, that's not a locker room problem. It's a system problem. A head coach is supposed to create stability, not quietly depend on veterans to absorb dysfunction. Stefanski's teams often place players in situations where toughness has to compensate for weak structure. Listen closely to how Garrett describes leadership. He talks about bringing energy every snap, motivating teammates, speaking up, and leading regardless of circumstances. That doesn't sound like support. It sounds like survival. It suggests a void. When players feel responsible for resetting the team's mindset on the field, it usually means the message from the sidelines isn't sticking. That's especially damaging for a rookie quarterback like Shedeur. If veterans are struggling to keep things steady, imagine how difficult it is for a young QB trying to learn and stay confident within an unstable offense. This is where Stefanski deserves real scrutiny. Shedeur didn't need motivational speeches. He needed clarity, protection, and consistency. Instead, Garrett talks about fighting through breakdowns, fixing issues on the fly, and holding everything together. That's not how functional teams operate. Coaches are supposed to set the tone so players can focus on execution. Shedeur was asked to lead while others were busy covering cracks elsewhere. That's not development. That's damage control. Garrett pushing through frustration is impressive, but the fact that he has to do it week after week is the real indictment of Stefanski's leadership. Garrett never said the name, but his words said enough. Leadership failed this season, and Shedeur paid the price. If your best player is talking about enduring frustration instead of chasing championships, something is broken at the top. Like and subscribe for more real NFL breakdowns. Do you think Garrett's comments were a subtle shot at Kevin Stefanski, or just raw honesty from a player who's run out of patience?